I've seen these applicants, some of them come full circle from, the first time they reached out to me or the first time I met them, while they're in the academy, to graduation, to now, becoming officers in the field. And to me, that's very rewarding.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your fearless host, Angie Scott.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. I am excited for our guest today, Officer Susanna McAllister with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission. Susanna, welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So we were talking a little bit offline. I was giving a little background on myself that, just so you know, I worked in the music industry here. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, and I worked in the music industry for over 16 years. And I'm such an outdoors person. And while I loved being in the music industry, I was really wanting to shift to a different career where I wasn't sitting behind a desk all day in a windowless office. And so I was like racking my brain trying to think of what I could start working towards that would be more outdoors related. And I've always had a love for Florida ever since the first time I visited, because of just the vast variety of wildlife and fishing opportunities. And I was like, man, what could I do to make a shift, be able to move down to Florida? And so I really started looking into Florida Fish and Wildlife as a career. And you're actually a recruiter, which is perfect. So I'm excited to share what you do and kind of get to know you a little bit. So if you wouldn't mind, just give a little background on yourself and how you got into the field.
Yeah, so ironically enough, it's kind of similar to your story. I started working for the FWC in August of 1999. We had just had a merger between the old Florida Marine Patrol and the Florida Fish and Game Commission merged and became the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. That happened in July of 99. I started in August of 99. But kind of like you, I was behind a desk. I was working in our division of law enforcement, enjoying what I did, but always wanted to do something more. I always wanted to become an officer. So about 14 years later, I decided that, either stop talking about it or do something about it. So I put in my application to become a law enforcement officer, went through the hiring process, and then started our academy in May of 2013, finished the training, graduated November of 2013, and have been in the field ever since. And my only regret is I didn't do it sooner. So it's been an excellent career, definitely an excellent change in careers, and never looked back.
So it's. I remember when I was looking into it, it sounds like it's a pretty competitive process. And what are some of the things that somebody needs to do or prepare for if they were to decide to go after that?
So, yeah, it is very competitive. It takes a while to get hired on with us. The process can take about a year, sometimes a year and a half from the time you submit an application. So the first step of the process is when we have an open application period to submit that application. Once it closes, then we'll notify the applicant of the supplemental application. That's usually open for about 3 to 4 weeks. If they get that turned in by the deadline and all that's required for that, we'll invite them to the physical abilities test, which is currently the 150-yard swim. It's a continuous swim for 150 yards. It's not timed. They can do any stroke. They just cannot stop. They cannot hang on to like the lane dividers or the edges. Once they finish that 150 yards, they get out of the pool, and then they begin an obstacle course that they have to complete within 8 minutes and 36 seconds. There's a video on YouTube that the applicant can watch to see what that obstacle course entails. If they pass that, then they'll be invited to an interview, and then basically depending on how well they do on the interview is, whether they continue through the hiring process. But as the recruiter, where I come into play, I can meet with the applicant. I can help prepare them for the interview. I can get them on a ride along. All those things will be helpful when they do come to the interview, with their knowledge and passion and so forth about becoming an FWC officer. That would be, extremely helpful for them.
One thing that I did that I would kind of suggest to other people too interested in this is just to kind of get my feet wet. It's a different type of thing, but it's kind of similar along the same lines. Is I went ahead and volunteered for the Coast Guard Auxiliary here in Nashville, and got some training and got to do some drills like on the water with boat crew and stuff like that. And that kind of, I feel like, introduced me to some of the types of things that I might be doing if I were to become a FWC officer. And I always thought that would be a good suggestion for people interested in pursuing that line of work. And I imagine as a recruiter or somebody hiring, that having that type of background already on your resume might help.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that would be very good. When they talk about transferable skills or, what have you done to prepare for this position? I mean, those are excellent ideas. That's something I hadn't thought of, and may pass that on to some future applicants. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any kind of education requirements?
Currently, there are not. The minimum requirements are they need to be 18 years old in order to submit an application. They have to be 19 by the time we hire them or before starting an academy. High school diploma or a GED are the current educational requirements. If they do have an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, that's additional points towards the interview, which is helpful. If they get hired with us, having those, one or the other degree can help them financially, providing them some extra salary every month as well. So not a requirement, but definitely helpful.
If somebody did want to go to school before pursuing this, is there a particular field of study that would be more beneficial?
No, when applicants ask me that question, I tell them no, but do something that, they're interested in and anything that would kind of correlate or transfer over to this,
Mm-hmm.
Obviously criminal justice, things like that. But a lot of people are getting into, like the biology degrees, marine science, environmental, things like that, that'll, obviously transfer over when they become officers.
Mm-hmm. Have you had any 19-year-old officers?
From billion-dollar ad budgets and arena naming rights to tens of thousands of retail locations, big wireless providers spend big to appear like they're your only option. How do they afford it all? That big bill you get at the end of every month. Mint Mobile had a different idea. Instead of brick and mortar overhead, Mint Mobile is online only. What does that mean for you? A whole lot of savings, because wireless plans from Mint Mobile start at just $15 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for just $15 a month. You'll save enough that you can get a brand new rod and reel for the upcoming season. For anyone who just hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan, and you can even keep your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. By going online only and eliminating traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes significant savings on to you. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That's mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
I believe we've had some start as early as 9 or as young as 19. I know we've had some 20-year-olds. As a matter of fact, there was a 20-year-old in my class that actually turned 21 while we were in the academy. I think we have had a handful of 19-year-olds.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. For more than 100 years, pheasant hunting has been a storied South Dakota tradition. And for the next century, South Dakota is focused on making pheasant hunting even greater, welcoming more hunters to the field, showing the hunting community is for everyone. That's a legacy to stand the test of time. Go to huntthegreatestsd.com to hear stories from women who hunt and learn what makes South Dakota the world's pheasant capital. That's huntthegreatestsd.com. South Dakota, sportswomen, welcome. So talk about the Academy. That's actually where you're at right now. And for listeners, we were going to do this as a video episode, but I was having some connection issues today, so we changed it up to a phone interview. But talk about somebody makes it through the application process, they get accepted to the Academy. What's that process like from there?
So if we offer them a position, we'll let them know what county in Florida they've been selected for. If they accept that offer, then they would start our Academy. Upon graduating our Academy, they would start in that county that we offered them. But starting the Academy, our Academy is about 7.5 months long. They are required to live at our Academy, typically go home on weekends if we don't have any training scheduled. But they're here Sunday night through Friday when they get out of class. We will pay for the training. Everything's included, room, board, books, tuition. We'll also pay them a salary the day that they start the training because they, officially are state of Florida employees. So yeah, we're paying for it and paying them while they're here. So that's, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And is it a pretty difficult, I imagine there's so much you got to learn as a FWC officer because you're working with wildlife. You're also law enforcement. There's got to be so many things somebody has to learn.
Yeah. So the first 20 weeks, I believe, is what all law enforcement officers in the state of Florida go through. It's the basic recruit curriculum. So those first 20 weeks are just becoming a law enforcement officer, in the training that's required. For FWC, once we finish that curriculum, our class will then take the state exam, provided everybody passes that, which there's an extremely high passing rate. Then we roll into the last 10 weeks of the Academy, which is considered our breakout. Those last 10 weeks are the FWC specific training that they're as officers, we're going to be doing in the field.
Gotcha. Are there quite a few females that go out for that line of work?
Comparatively speaking, no, but the last several classes on average, we have probably 5 females. I think there were 5 females in my class.
And how many total are in a class?
Usually about 45.
Okay.
Typically 45.
Gotcha. And what's the dropout rate like?
We usually lose in that, starting the Academy and maybe throughout the Academy, on average, between 3 and 5 people. That's, some people just realized it maybe wasn't what they expected and decided this is not something they want to do. We lose people to academically, if they fail an exam. We lose them in some of the high liability courses like firearms or defensive tactics. But on average, 5 people per class.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's not too bad with that size. Well, what do you find that's most rewarding for you in your position?
In my position, I've been a recruiter almost 4 years, and so I've seen these applicants, some of them come full circle from, the first time they reached out to me or the first time I met them, while they're in the Academy to graduation to now, becoming officers in the field. And to me, that's very rewarding, to see them, 2-3 years ago to today.
And what's been kind of most challenging for you?
As a recruiter, I focus on diversity recruiting, and that can be a challenge. This particular type of law enforcement is not traditional. Mm-hmm. While we are state law enforcement officers, we focus on conservation law enforcement, and it's not for everybody, and not it's kind of hard to find that particular person that enjoys being outside in the elements. With the we've got snakes and ticks and spiders and things like that some people just aren't keen on. So that can be challenging to kind of sell this as what a great career and how much fun it is and rewarding and all those good things. But that sometimes is a challenge for people that, you know, may not enjoy the outdoors, that may have an interest in law enforcement, but then not necessarily this type of law enforcement.
Right. Yeah. And in Florida too, it's got to be a little extra challenging, in that, you know, it's hot a lot of the year, depending on where you're at in Florida. It can be, very, very humid and then you're dealing with all the critters, and you've got, you know, gators, of course, down there. So
yes. Yeah.
You're, like I said, you're at the training academy right now, and then you're heading off to do a recruiting event, right?
That is correct. Yes. I'm going to head over to the FUNIAC, which is in Walton County, in a little bit, and basically just put the word out there that we're hiring and looking for good people that want to do this.
And do you get to travel all over the state, or are you kind of focused in one area?
Yes, my area of responsibility is the Northwest region, which is from Jefferson County, that's just a little bit east of Tallahassee, over to Escambia County, which is over in the Pensacola area.
Gotcha. Well, great. Well, if somebody's interested in finding out more about this, how do they go about that?
Yeah, absolutely. They can go to our website. They can go to myfwc.com. There's a Talk to a Recruiter page. We have 6 recruiters statewide. I'm, again, up in the Northwest region, in the Panhandle. They're more than welcome to reach out to me. I can give you my email address and my phone number, and I can put them in touch with the, respective recruiter for their area. But that would be the first step, is to, contact a recruiter, and then we'll help facilitate the process thereafter.
Great. Well, I'll put a link to the website in the show notes for this episode, so people can just click on that and go straight there. And I just really appreciate your time this morning. I think we're going to have a follow-up interview with somebody to talk kind of about conservation issues and stuff going on in Florida, which is super important as well. So I look forward to that. And just thank you again for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.